Here we go. Here we go, folks. Another episode of Raw Thoughts with Raw Talk with Respect with D Mainstream. So, today's topic is today's topic. Um, I don't think it's more than just today or a couple of days ago or a month ago or a year ago. Breonna Taylor, as you know, they had a grand jury come back and indict one of the officers. They indicted one of the officers for what is called wanton endangerment. What is wanton endangerment? Well, wanton endangerment is you put someone else in danger in the commission of what you were doing. And that, in essence, the cop was shooting in the door and he pointed his gun at someone else. And so no cop was actually charged with at all with anything concerning Breonna Taylor. Yet the city paid 12 million to the family, um, and the AG Attorney General came out today, and what the Attorney General David, I think his name Cameron, came out today and said, and you can tell he was sweating bullets. He did not want to be on that stage. Um, he was very uncomfortable. I don't know what it entailed for him to get up there and say what he said today, but you could see it in his face that he knew it was political suicide, but he had to do it. Don't know how, why, but pretty obvious. And in saying so, when you see this guy that's talking about justifying shooting more than 20 times in someone's apartment, I mean, hell, the young white lady down here in Dallas shot how many times? Not 20. And she killed that guy there. And she's in prison. And you're telling me that they shoot 20 times inside of an apartment? Let's go a step deeper because people will say, well, they knocked and they identified themselves. Well, during the press conference today, I thought it's something to remind the folks out there in the land that listens and kind of gets both sides of it. One of the reporters said, our corporation, our agency, as well as all the news agencies, talked to every single person in that apartment complex, and not one person said they heard them announce themselves. The man that actually shot because people were busting through his door, Kenneth Walker, not the person they were looking for, which is assumed that that's the person that was in her apartment. And we'll get deeper into that. So before I go any further than that, that's what we're talking about tonight. And I want everybody's opinion. I want the good, the bad, the ugly. It does not matter. Opinions are welcome. Let's talk about it and let's come to some kind of amicable means so everyone understands where you're coming from and why you believe that way. It's okay to do so, and it's okay to say it out loud. But hey, if it's not true and there's something that you can listen to that makes it viable, why not listen? So I'm joined also with my friend Diane. Is it Diane or Diane?
It's Diane.
There you go. And we'll be joined with a couple other people, but I want to get some different perspectives of people that are talking about things that are going on right now today. And I've heard a lot of people say, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm tired of hearing all that negativity. So help me understand what could be said to you of someone that doesn't look like you that will make you say, even though I don't want to hear it all day long, every day, what can resonate in your mind to make you say, okay, I really will take a look at it, not just telling you that.
Well, so I have a interesting vested interest in this story because I can sympathize and empathize with the family because I lost a daughter as a result of someone else's negligence. and no one was ever charged in her death. So this story is, it definitely resonates with me. I can feel what the family's feeling, and the amount of injustice is staggering. It's incomprehensible. I have a hard time even beginning to get my mind around it. I mean, somebody died, police were involved, guns were drawn, the woman was shot, what, 8 times? And there's no charges brought. I can't even begin to fathom.
Well, they said that more than 20 shots were fired through the door. Um, uh, the survivor, which was Kenneth Walker, which was her current boyfriend, neither had any kind of felony conviction. Neither of them had anything, and he had a license to carry, by the way.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
I hear you,
you
but
have
it
to
doesn't.
understand, it doesn't, but you have to be able to understand how someone else's perspective, which you do, comes from, so you can kind of have them at least consider where you're coming from, because if not, they're going to discount it. And so that's the whole purpose. But the truth is, if it's not someone that's directly related to you or someone you care about, for some, it's very difficult for you to empathize with them, to sympathize with them, because tomorrow's another day and it doesn't affect you on your personal level. So move on. It, I had a bigger question from that is, so to you, when I say first responders, and I'll ask Cass when he joins in a moment, what does a first responder mean to you?
To me, it's fire, rescue, EMT. It's also police, but when I think first responder, in my mind, that's more of a help than law. I think of it more as someone to help you. I need a first response. I need somebody to help me. Something's wrong with me. So I need fire or rescue or EMT.
Do you think we put a scale on people as far as how important they are to us in our everyday life? Concerning that, and the deeper question is going to go revert back to, well, why is there's a disconnect with an officer getting killed as opposed to an officer killing? So I'll go back to what I was saying. Do you think mentally, as a society, we have a scale that we hold people to a regard, and it matters more if something happens to them, even if they are not related to us, we don't know them, we've never seen them in our lifetime, as opposed to the people that are in our life, that we have that scale mentally, and that plays a part. Do you think so?
Well, I think there's some level of that because if a paramedic, a fireman gets killed in the line of duty, that's one less fireman EMT to help the next guy, my neighbor, the next person in a car accident. So I think there is some level of that because there's limited firemen in our county, in our state, and so one less means one less to help. So I can see that.
So my question will be like, when a fireman's killed, when a, would you consider a caseworker? Would you consider a, no? Let's start from, yeah. Hold on, caseworker, from a caseworker to mental health to um, nurse, EMT, those people to doctors, residents. Do you consider those first responders are the same, equal, everything? Are they the same? And my next question is going to follow per your response.
No, I don't. We used you threw EMTs in there with doctors and nurses and caseworkers and social. I don't consider those a first response because when I think first response, I think emergency, and the first person to come to me is not going to be a nurse or a doctor. It's going to be an EMT, rescue, fire, police. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, I'm just saying a scale of which scale being EMT is the first. If the EMT is not good at him or her, his or her job, then you're not going to make it to the hospital in good enough conditions for anybody to do anything anyway. So I get that part. I'm simply saying to you, uh, Is there a skill we use in society to impart upon those people from EMTs to a nurse to the person that actually does, say he's the doctor? Are all of them is as important or just as important as a first responding police officer? And if that's the case, why is there not the same importance when something happens to them as opposed to when something happens to an officer? That's
Because
the
you don't.
disconnect.
Let me break up the two-part question. I think they are equally as important, and I think, as I said with EMTs and fire, if there's one less, there's one less to help the next guy. I think it's the same with the medical profession. Um, and then the second part of your question.
Well, I want to know if that's the case, if what you're saying is true, then I've never heard of an EMT or
Because
even a
it's because
doctor.
we don't, unless it's a tragedy or they're involved in something. It's just you don't hear about that. It's just not. You actually don't even. You rarely even hear about when firemen get killed or an EMT. Because a lot of the line of duty stuff are cops.
But
You
there's a
know,
lot of people that have been killed by COVID that are doctors.
you are absolutely right, and we don't hear about it.
No, and nobody's crying anything, saying anything. No, they
Mm-mm.
didn't get shot by a gun, and I get that part. Those two officers that were shot in LA, horrendous. Wish nothing but the best for them. Don't want anybody to go out there and kill and shoot anybody. That's not a resolution to anything. And in fact, it takes you about 25,000 steps backwards, to be quite honest with you. But the truth is this: when you have a disproportionate part of society that are being killed, it's crazy. And what happens is you have to understand that there's something that we can do, and somehow we have to figure out how to communicate. Because if we can't, we're just spinning around in circles. Hey, Cass, thank you for joining. Hey, man, put your input in. I know you've been listening. I'm glad you joined. Go ahead, brother.
D, are you getting feedback from my mic too?
I am.
I'm not sure what's going on,
That's
man. I'm trying to knock that out.
that's okay, man.
Let me try to get a better connection. I'm not sure. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So
Okay, it's
sorry
better.
to the partner. You got me?
Better. Perfect. Perfect. You got it. Go ahead.
All right, mine's locked up. Okay.
Okay.
So sorry I'm late. Where we at?
We're talking about actually a deeper question than Breonna Taylor. We're talking about how to connect with people and why a first responder. First of all, what do you think a first responder is? Hold your camera or your mic in your hand.
Is that better?
Yes, if you hold it, great.
Okay. So what do I think a first responder is?
Yes.
So if I have an emergency, if somebody's trying to shoot me, if I have a heart attack, if somebody gets injured in a car wreck, if 9/11 the towers get hit, and we have something that's dangerous, an emergency, a first responder is somebody who's going to rush into that and help me. So right. So I heard a little bit of you talking to this nice lady here about doctors and EMTs. So first responder will be somebody who comes onto the scene when the action is going down, right? So, be it an EMT, a fireman, a police officer, somebody who's coming into a bad spot to help, I guess would be my thought of the first responders.
We're getting a lot of feedback.
Oh man, I hate that.
I'm gonna come back to you in a minute. See if we can get that this
Yeah, man.
situated real
Let me
quick.
see what I can.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have someone join us that's a nurse and see what she has to say about that. But then, as I'm doing that, I want to ask you another question. A lot of things and people say is that the person that was in the house was a drug dealer. Do you think that's true? And what do people that say to you say? Do they say that that's what happened or not?
Well, I haven't specifically talked to people about this exact event, but and I can say that in my history, I have known white people that be like, "Oh, it's a drug dealer," whatever. My personal opinion is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he was a murderer. It doesn't matter. And the facts now that we know that it was the wrong apartment, it just, none of it matters. And you said something earlier about, stuff being out of control, and it might not have been your words, but shit is out of control. And I can tell you that I have some very important Black people in my life, and it scares the shit out of me to think that someone that I love could get it pulled for speeding and some shit happen. I mean, it's
Well, a couple things. One is that they went to that apartment with a search warrant. So they had a search warrant for that apartment. That's the first thing.
I
But
know.
they not only had a search warrant for that apartment, they had a search warrant for the place of the known drug dealer that they were searching for, who they had already accosted 40 minutes earlier. The cops had pulled him over and they identified him. So they knew where he was because they had just saw him 40 minutes earlier. They were doing this simultaneously. This is what I really think happened. I think they were doing at the same time, but Breonna got killed. And that was something they didn't foresee happening because they said, of course, in the notes, they didn't think anybody was there. She lived by herself. There was no kids, so it was low risk. How would they have ever thought this guy didn't live there? Her boyfriend, the one that had a license to carry, he didn't live there. He was just there. So they didn't think he was going to be there. She was there by herself in their minds, and they knock on the door. They don't announce themselves, and they bust it in. They're not going to get shot. What's the worst that's going to happen? But they didn't calculate that he was there with the gun, license to carry. Of course, they found nothing. But the truth is, they didn't know the outcome. And so they are like an email back in the day. They are CYA. And I'm
But also, I don't think, obviously, if they had him 40 minutes earlier and they still went forward with the search warrant or the knock warrant, whatever they call it, obviously the department was not talking to each other. I doubt the guys that had arrested 40 minutes earlier was the same guys that went and, that did the warrant. So the department was not talking to each other.
if you
It
have
couldn't have been.
if you have an arrest warrant for someone, I'm thinking that if you get pulled over, you're probably going to jail. Or they're allowing you to go somewhere to find out a little bit deeper what's going on. But if you have an arrest warrant that's signed by a judge, no, and they're not just letting you go because they feel nice and easy for you and you happen to have dark melanin. That's not the question. The truth is this is what's happened. I'm trying to put a little bit of light on it because it's kind of a deep subject, but I don't want it to be that deep, but it needs to be so people understand and hear what I'm saying. The truth is they made a mistake. Now they're changing data. Now they're changing when it was recorded. Now they're changing when that arrest warrant was issued. And these things are in the database and you can see it. Don't take my word for it. And when you see the egregious nature of what's happening, when they're saying that I'm going to charge a detective for recklessly endangering a neighbor, but I'm not going to charge him for shooting through a door and killing a person, even though his bullet did not hit her. That is remarkable to me. Remarkable. And people say, I'm tired of hearing it. Yeah, but people are tired of it happening too. And I think when you're tired of it happening, and that really is an important thing that we're talking about, that matters more than I'm just, I got too much to do today and I don't want to take the time to deal with that. No, if you have people that you care about that look like me, that look like you, that don't believe what you believe in, but still cool with you, that may not have the sexual preferentation that you will, that may not even believe how you believe. If you don't have the empathy to say, hey, you know what? You're humane, you're a human being, you have lost touch, man. And something needs to happen for you to wake up. You back with this, Cash?
I'm here trying to outrun the feedback, sir.
That's okay, man. Give me your feedback, what you got. It's okay. I don't care about that crackling, man. Let's roll.
I'm sorry. All right. So we're discussing Breonna right now, and I told you earlier I wasn't really up to date on the case, really as to what all went down. So I looked it up, did a little research. So if Breonna Taylor was in fact helping her ex-boyfriend, or had been helping her ex-boyfriend to run drugs, to do this, to do that, if she was stepping outside the law, she did not deserve to die. If that was the case, if those facts are true, I don't know if that's true. She deserved, a trial and a jury of her peers, like anybody else, due process. Did she deserve to be shot down in an apartment? No, she did not. If she was innocent, obviously she had nothing to do with all that. She certainly didn't deserve to be shot in her apartment. So I'm even learning more facts listening to you and Diane talk about it. That I know I didn't really dig into that one. I regret it. Should have looked a little harder into the case. But apparently the police did have a warrant. I guess it was a no-knock warrant was the controversy, whether they had a no-knock warrant or if they had a warrant where you need to announce yourself.
No, they had a
So-
no-knock warrant.
So
In this
if I was-
no-knock warrant, what was happening is that it was signed by a judge that they can just go into the apartment. And also about 10 miles away, they can go to the known drug house where they thought the boyfriend actually was at. 40 minutes were off. So the no-knock warrant was for both of those. They go and knock on her door and wake the boyfriend up. That's the boyfriend that they did not know that was there. Her new boyfriend, Kenneth Walker. He's in the apartment. He has a license to carry. He's yelling, "Who is it? Who is it?" Based on his, testimony today. He said that a couple of times. Eventually, it wakes her up. And when it wakes her up, she walks into the hallway. Bam! The door opens. He shoots. 20 bullets spray down the hallway, killing her. And now they're saying, hey, nobody's charged. We made a mistake. And the only one we're going to charge is because he pointed his weapon upstairs at someone that came out and said, leave that girl alone.
Fire his weapon?
Say again?
Did Kenneth Walker fire his weapon at the police officers?
No. He fired his weapon through someone that busted his door down that didn't identify themselves, and he shot one time, hitting one of the officers in the leg.
Okay, all right. Not semantics. He didn't know they were cops, but he shot at them.
Correct.
Okay, so if I was Kenneth Walker and I was with my new girlfriend and I thought maybe her ex-boyfriend was up to no good or had been in trouble.
Hold on.
And
Hold on.
somebody busted
Hold
in.
on. I got to stop you with that, big dog. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. What's up?
The reason I say that to you is because this is something that I want to say to you that I think we do sometimes. We're looking for why it may be possible for that officer or someone of authority to do what they did. Based on factual data, we can't assume that he knew anything about her ex-boyfriend. Why would she tell him that? Your ex-girlfriend.
I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble hearing you with this crackling. Okay, so that wasn't where I was going. Let's say that I was dating somebody, and I'm in their apartment, right? Okay, so let's say I don't know anything about their ex-boyfriend. Let's say Walker didn't know anything about Breonna's ex-boyfriend. He's just dating this girl, and somebody tries to come to the door, or I'm shooting too. So I got a gun. I'm shooting. I don't know who it is. I'm shooting. So I'm not blaming the man for that. Let's say I was just throwing that out there, that even as an extra thing, maybe Breonna said, my ex-boyfriend, a little bit of a punk. He may cause some trouble. He's not down with me dating you. He may be. Then now I'm extra ready to shoot. I'm not making.
Okay, that's fair. I'm saying that's fair. That is that.
If I were Mr. Walker,
No. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. If in fact this was a real bad guy, and she's like, "Look, this guy's a knucklehead, and he may come across trouble." I get that part, but my thing is,
I've been Mr. Walker before. I've been in that situation. I was dating a girl. She said my ex-boyfriend's crazy. Well, old dude showed up. Now, I didn't have a gun at that particular apartment, so I couldn't shoot. But I can understand being in that gentleman's situation. If he even knew about her ex-boyfriend. Even if he didn't, though, if he was just dating Breonna and somebody is beating on the door trying to come through, I'm gonna do the same thing he did. So if I'm empathetic and I put myself in his shoes, then I'm going to
Okay.
react the way he reacted.
And Diane, what do you think about that?
About the fact of Walker
Yeah.
shooting, I don't know a lot about Kentucky law, but it seems like they're very similar to Texas, that you can protect your home. And so I probably would have done the same thing. I mean, I have a license to carry. I've never used that license, but if somebody's beating down the door and I'm scared to death, I'm probably going to pull that weapon
What I really got from
and hope that nobody in my house dies because it's the police trying to
well,
get in.
I'm going to give you another. Cass will be back. He's going to try to reboot his Boost mobile phone.
And I will say that I did not realize that it was her ex-boyfriend they were looking for. I didn't make that connection until just
A
now.
lot of people
I
think
guess I
that
didn't know that
he was.
piece.
You'll hear a lot on the internet thinking that they were at that house looking for the ex-boyfriend. That they were saying that was her boyfriend. It wasn't her boyfriend. They knew it was not her boyfriend because they had stopped him 40 minutes earlier.
Okay.
And not only that, they just didn't think she wasn't high risk. Well, if it wasn't a high risk, why was it a no knock warrant? And you'll see on TV, they'll say, really, there was one person out of everyone in the entire community around that home. One person said that one person said that she heard, or him, they didn't say him or she or he, they said they heard them knock and announce. No other person in that entire community said that they heard that. And there's a lot of people in the news stations push back
Oh,
on
I
the
know.
attorney general today about that.
I know.
It's amazing that not only that, and I'm gonna give you another fact that's breathtaking. There's no body footage.
Of course there's not. That's bullshit. Come on.
I want to say
Louisville's a
that
big city. It's a
I
big
want
city.
hold on.
I find it odd in today's time that none of those guys doing a no-knock warrant looking for a bad dude in the middle of the night didn't have a body cam.
There were 120 people that were on the scene that night, and there is not 1 minute of
One single. Well, there you go.
come on, man. Really? Cass, tell me about that, big dog. Not 1 minute of footage.
That's the first I've heard of that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know much about it.
Oh no, I get it. What is your response though, without you knowing yet? And I know you can't break it down. You can't say is this true or not true. But
Right,
if that's true, does that pass your smell test?
It was 120 law enforcement officers or people, or what's up?
Law enforcement officers of 120 total that actually got to the scene, not on the pond, but after it was all over, 120 of them were there.
And there was no body cam footage. That smells bad. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, if you got all the officers there and you got does that department have body cams? Not every department has body cams. Do they have them?
Yes,
If they
they
have
do.
them, are they going to use them? If they have
Let's go deeper than that though. The SWAT team showed up. So if it's a SWAT team, it's a no-knock warrant. You know they gotta have body cam.
Yes, sir. If you're going to go in on a no-knock warrant, or any time, you should have a body cam on. If you have access to a body cam and you don't have it on, or you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have it on," to me that smells bad. Period. I don't care who you are. I would want if it was me, I would always have I would have 10 body cams. I'm gonna prove to you that I did it the right way. So that does I don't like that.
Why are we so angry when a cop dies, but we're not angry when that person that a cop kills died? What is the disconnect in the community?
Okay.
That makes us so mad and angry?
Okay, so that's a tough one. So when a police officer or a firefighter or a first responder, right? We were talking about first responders. So a police officer, let's say a police officer, because again, when we say police officer, instantly everybody in their head thinks of a white guy that's racist. That's bullshit. There's Korean, Asian, there's every kind of police officer. There's black police officers. Okay, so when you say police officer, you instantly think white, Republican, Trump-loving, racist. That's bullshit. So when you talking about when a white police officer dies? Are you talking about when a
That's
black
true
police
shit, though. That's true shit.
What are you talking about? When a police officer dies, what do you mean? Who? A white one? If the dude that knelt on Floyd's neck died, wouldn't bother me a bit. Fuck. Excuse my language. No, I'm sorry, man. I'm cussing too much. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It depends on who are we talking about. There's a lot of people on this earth that might pass away that I'm not going to cry over. But then there's some that I would. So just to assume that a police officer is a police officer and that's a bad thing, that's difficult. That's troubled. If I say, what if a black person died? Well, one of my good buddies, D, who are you talking about? Somebody that I've never met on this side of the world? Who are we discussing? So
then why do we give so much credibility with people that we never meet, like say a Kobe Bryant, people that have done great things, but we never met them, we don't know anything about them, but we're sorrow. But then there are people around you that you don't feel the same way about, that interact with your life on an everyday basis, which is a deeper question. Not just that question, and I know I'm going to get, that's that ADD kid, but you know, that's why you're here. I'm going to ask you this other question with that is this. It's not really about the officers. I think a lot of times in a lot of white person's mind, they think, of course, what you said, white guy, gun, get on the ground, shoot you, whatnot, get nervous, immediate thought process. That's the norm. That's what you kind of think about. But it's in a lot of people's mind, it's not that. The truth is, I would love for people that look like you and think like you, that are intelligent and can communicate. It's not that. It's what's so mad and angering to a black person is the systematic part of it. It's a system. People follow a system. They buy into that system. That system guards them, regulates them, and protects them. And they don't go outside that system. And I don't care if you be a vagabond and you do something different. That's on you, dude. But this system is in place for that person to get away with things. That's the thing that angers so many black people. And that's the in-depth of what we never say. It's always about that cop, black cop, white cop. It's about the system in place that puts that even in a possibility of happening that people never say a word about, which is deeper than what we even have a conversation about. And we argue about the petty things. We argue about the battle. We're talking about the war. It's the system.
Okay. Yeah. No, I understand. I feel that. I'm trying to really listen to what you're saying and think about process what you're saying. So, yes, that's correct. If the system itself, if the game is crooked, then even good people and the players, the whole game is still rigged, right? That's what. Okay, so I get that. So I was having a conversation today about the Constitution of the United States, and I said, man, it's a really, the way that it's worded, the way that it's written is great, except for that at that time, we're talking, except for black folks, and not so much women, right? We got all these rights, we got all these things, and every man has these inalienable rights. Not the black folks, though. Not so much them, and that's property. And then not the women. We don't really want them to vote because they're dumb. Okay, so I get that, right?
I'm sorry. What were black people again? Please say that out loud.
Property.
Property, man.
Property. So I'm here. My name is Fred Johnson, and I got all these rights and everything. And this is Jamal. He works for me. He don't. Shut up, Jamal. He don't have shit. Okay, that right there, that's backwards. That's crazy. Now, we started that off wrong. We came from a place in the 1700s, and back in time before that, there was always slavery, right? We all agree, me and you and Diane and this gentleman that just popped on, slavery is not logical or good anywhere, anytime at all. It's just what a normal human would think. So, yes, we started out with slavery. And when you read the Constitution, in my life from 1972 on, when I read the Constitution, it includes women. and black, any American from wherever. If you came over from Iraq and you became an American, you got the same rights I got. So when people say, and this is such a big conversation, people say America was never great and all that. I understand that more now when people say that than I did before. Because wasn't that great if you ain't counting black folks? Wasn't that great if women can't? Wasn't that great if women can't vote? Wasn't that great if you're Chinese and we got you working on the railroad and you can't do shit or say shit? That's not that great. But as we've come forward so as a country, America is very, very young. In the history, in the timeline of the world, America is not even 300 years old. Okay, Rome stood for how long? So in that time, though, from when we drafted that Constitution, the white dudes, uppity white men, drafted it not to include black people or whoever, Chinese, Korean. Now, as we've come forward into this century, and we've had the civil rights movement, and there's so many white people are burning things down and blowing shit up because they are angry at the way black people are treated. So I would say, as just a human being, we've certainly moved forward from where we started. Do we still have systemic racism and things? Yeah, man, because we still have people. But America is trying, a lot of people, to shed itself of that ugly past. I mean, you can't say that it's not. Right?
I can. I can. I think you're the anomaly. You're not the rule. You're the exception. You're not the rule, brother. The truth is, people don't understand that. They just don't understand that slavery has never stopped. It's just been rewritten. And what I mean by rewritten is simply the fact of, before you could have your property. I mean, you were in carnivals. They threw baseballs at you. So, I mean, there was things. Progress is not progress unless it's humane. When it's humane, then that means you're treating someone as an equal because he's a human being. And we are so far beyond that. The visceral reactions that you would say, whether it be on Facebook or anywhere else, is saying that, hey, this is wrong. If I didn't tell you the name of the person, if I didn't tell you the color of the person, and if I didn't tell you who was involved, and I just explained to you this situation, you would be outraged. Why are we not outraged? Why are we not outraged is the question. All the other questions around that outrage doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is it happened, and there's a reason why it consistently happens all the time. When I say slavery has not stopped, brother, it has not stopped. Because if you ask any brother, I'm telling you, he's going to tell you it happens every single day, if not to him, to someone in his family, to someone he knows. And I'm not talking about someone on the news. I'm talking about someone that he knows. And it's tiring sometimes to say, but it's also tiring sometimes for some people to hear because they're like, I don't want to hear it. I know. Shit, we don't want it to happen. I get it. I'm hearing you there. Go ahead, man.
So I'm going to ask you real quick. So me and you grew up together, right? These people may not know that. And we're like brothers. You say to my house, we played sports together. I mean, you've had this conversation. I did not experience racism like you experienced. Obviously, I'm white. But when I was with you or your family, it was no different to me. So I kind of got a weird view of black folks because I didn't think of you as being different. So maybe my vision is skewed. But you're saying that right now, in 2020, it's no different in America than we were bringing people over on boats as slaves. And you're trying to pass that shit off as the truth. This country has not changed since 1776. For this gentleman in the yellow shirt, I don't know, he's getting treated the same way today back then. Are you serious right now?
You got feedback, palm maneuver on your microphone. Just so
I
you
hate
know.
this microphone.
But no.
But can you hear me?
Oh no. Okay. So I'm gonna answer that question. I'm gonna say it to you like this: words are powerful. So careful on the words we choose. Like it's not changed, or it's not different, or we've progressed. If you're telling me that now that you're able to vote, now that you're able to go to school, now that you're able to own property, that is growth from someone owning you, That's not growth. Growth is when you are treated as the same as everyone else, and there is a systematic thought process. Think of it this way: when you went to school, from elementary, junior high, high school, and college, if you went to, you were taught a curriculum, right? Who wrote that curriculum for you? Did they look like you, or did they look like anybody outside of you? Or did they look like anybody outside of you? Was that included in what you learned? Or did you learn exactly who you and everyone that was amazing to you all your life until you became an adult? And is that something that you projected, what you were going to live your life and what you teach your kids, whether it be now or people that look like you do? Because that's what you've been taught all your life, because that's what's great. Can you hear
So
me? Go ahead, Don.
I was just going to say that to Cash's point, yeah, everything looks different today. And from my research, which I've done quite a bit of, slavery has just been replaced with another form of keeping Black people down, minimizing. It's a lot of it today is mass incarceration. It's lack of funding. It's lack of education. It's just lack of all of these things. And my belief is that um, a big part of the problem is it's ignorance, and it's shit passed down from one generation to the next generation to the next generation to the next. And I can tell you that my father used the N word all the time in front of the kids when they were little. And I used to, me and my sister would say, "Dad, stop." And he says, "Well, somebody's got to teach them." So I was raised with a very, very racist man, love him to death. Sorry he's no longer with me, so I could try to change his mind. But I think it's passed down until you, as a non-person of color, decides that it's important to understand and to see things differently. I think it's hard because I could have just stayed in my little white bubble and been like, "Oh wow, shit's happening." But I took it upon myself because I'm involved really heavily in the LGBTQ, and they have they have issues with discrimination, and so do Blacks. And so I knew about that community, so I wanted to learn about the history of the Black community. And as I see it, slavery's just been replaced with something different. I'll shut up now.
Vaughn.
Man,
Vaughn, go ahead. Join us, brother.
Oh, is that me?
That's you, my man. It's all you right now.
Hey,
Hey.
how's
So
it
I know you've
going?
been
How's it
hearing us and
going?
talking to us and listen to what we're saying, but I would like your thought process on a few of those points that we're talking about, and we'll pipe in as we go.
Well, I mean, my brain is kind of stale. I've been like on Zoom all day. So excuse me if I lose my train of thought. What Cash was saying earlier about the Constitution, I mean, it just brings to mind to me. The first thing I think about is the 13th Amendment, where it says, with the exception of those that's incarcerated. I'm just paraphrasing. So right there, I mean, you see that slavery wasn't really abolished. And then I think about, from there, I think about, I was watching something the other day, and
If you
it was speaking.
if you
I'm
repeat
sorry?
to Cash, I want you to repeat to Cash about why slavery is still existent to today. I did not say that earlier, but that is the most valuable point that most people have absolutely no clue about, and they'll never say anything about. What would you just say just a second ago? Why slavery was not abolished?
With the 13th Amendment, it states that all people are free, with the exception of, as a matter of fact, just give me a second. Let me pull it up so I can read it verbatim. How about that?
It's involuntary servitude.
Yes, yes. Um, sorry.
My feedback is so bad. I really want to hear what this gentleman has to say.
Yeah, just put it on mute. Okay. Let me read it verbatim here if I can get it to be a little bit bigger so I can read it. So basically, what it says, the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime where the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States. I mean, that says it all right there. I mean, and then, you look at from I think it was 1986, the increase of incarceration rates went up amongst Black Americans 300%. And most of those involve drug crimes. I mean, that right there is kind of, really like pretty obvious to me of the intent. We still seeing it take place to this day. So, I mean, that's my viewpoint on that. I mean, you guys are welcome to give me some pushback or feedback on that issue.
No, you're. I feel like I'm getting feedback now. Am I? It was Reagan's War on Drugs, 1986. Bam.
I would agree with that. The truth is, in a lot of ways, just to kind of brush back on what we were talking about earlier, it's I was talking to someone earlier today, and they don't necessarily agree, and they were talking about, hey, do you have the same fervency of when something happens to a white cop or when something happens to a white person? Do you talk about that the same way? And I said, not really the same thing. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't. Does it mean any less than me because a human being has died? Absolutely not. The truth is, I just want people to value human beings. If you bet, if you value the human being, regardless of what they paint a picture of what has been done with this person, then you're going to have some empathy. If they just gave you a story and talked to you about this person, no name, and this is what happened to them, it's when you start putting those monikers on people: Black, white, Republican, drug addict, they were this, they were that. The connotations, whether it be a dog whistle, whether it be a bullhorn, that they put on you to, of course, direct you. And people are professionals at this. If you don't believe me, watch what that what is it called? I want to say it's like a social something that's on Netflix. That it's these things. People, that is their living to do, is to read you and trigger you to react instead of you thinking, or you really taking the time to do the research to find out what's going on around you. The people you interact with, you have with for the last 10, 15 years. You may not like them, but I would say to you, they have some things to say to you if you interact with them to this day. Hear what they have to say as well as you want them to hear what you have to say. But when something is as egregious as happening on a consistent basis, you cannot be silent. I don't care how uncomfortable it is. And you don't have to say out loud and talk to people and go on Facebook or whatnot. But the same way you do business behind the scenes and you're successful at it, why can't you do it the same way in social conscious scenes? You can. You just have to figure out a way, and it has to be important enough for you to do so. Hopefully, that doesn't take someone close to you being affected by it, and it shouldn't. All right, we back with people. We got this in.
So I'll say, Dee, you said we should value the human being, and I utterly and completely agree with you. But the problem is that people judge based on their upbringing, their history, their ignorance, their education, their lack of education, their political party. People judge. So if there was If we could get away from social media so you can't see the color of the person, the way their eyes are slanted, the color of their hair, and it just came up Breonna Taylor, you wouldn't know, and it would, but I people judge, and that's
The truth is, we do even judge by names. We do that. We absolutely do that.
you're right. There is that. There
I'm
is.
just saying that if there's no name, you just explain the situation. You attach no identifying features with that. And to be honest with you, unless this is something that's unsolved, why do you need to know that? So if this is happening and the people that are involved with who they are, just explain the situation. You're doing the investigation. You're going to release some of it, but you don't release all of it.
Yeah, but that's a whole change in where we have been and what we have been doing for years and years and years. It's always the black guy, the white woman, the redhead, the
Then why do we still have the same constitution this many years later? Did we not progress? Do we still have bayonets? Do we still ride horses to battle?
no,
We
but
still have a code.
there are people that have progressed and there are people that haven't. I mean, it's a societal change, and I see a lot more of it now because all these protests and all these riots and all this marching against stuff, these are millennials, these are young kids that don't see color. My children never saw color, and to this day they still don't. They're in their 20s. I saw color as a kid because my dad told me about color. My children don't, and I think the younger generation, they don't see color like older generations did. And I do believe it is evolving, and we will see in our lifetime as much change as you and I want. Probably not. Hopefully, in
Uh,
our
uh,
children's
I,
lifetime.
I'll stop. I'll stop after this one and let you guys talk. But two things I want to push back on what you just said. One, I want you to see color. That is important that you see color because you can identify why people see it the way you don't see it. Important, important. Every white person out there that's listening to me right now, it is important that you see color. When you say I don't see color, they're not telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. Yes, you see color and you see what's going on, which is why you wear the Black Lives Matter because you see that Black lives are being killed. So
But
they might. I know. I'm
when I
not.
say see color, I I saw color as a positive and a negative. I do not feel my children see different colors as a positive or negative. They just see it. So
In a negative way. I feel what she's saying. I see Dwayne. I can see that you're black right now. Other dude in here is black. I'm not blind, but I don't see your color as putting you at a disadvantage or putting you as different than me. I think that's what she means. I can see that you're black. I have Korean friends. They're yellow. I can see color, but I don't see that differentiates you as a human being. For me, is when a white person says I don't see
Partaken.
color. You know what I'm saying? I know it sounds wrong because you need to. If we
No, no,
didn't
that's
have
point
color,
taken. See, and that's why
no,
we
no, no.
talk because that makes sense.
Yeah. I think she means I don't see it as a bad thing. That's how I feel. That's you know what I'm saying. If we didn't have black people,
absolutely.
if we didn't have Korean people, if we didn't have Mexican food, if we didn't have braids in our hair, cultural appropriation, me being able to learn from a different person's culture and appreciate that and say, man, that is awesome, bro. My old lily white ass, I wish I was like Dwayne when I was growing up. I wish I could run as fast as Dwayne or I could do this that Dwayne does. I don't think that's all bad. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that wanting to be like Michael Jordan my whole life makes me trying to appropriate his culture. He's a bad son of a bitch, and I want to be like him. You know, just like Dwayne. There's a lot of things that Dwayne can do. I don't have that talent. I wish I could be like Dwayne. I think I'm sorry. I'm running off the track, but I think that's what she was saying. As a white person, when I hear somebody say I don't see color, I get you. Be careful because Dwayne's about to check you. But I know what you're trying to get at. I don't see color as a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I know where you guys are coming from, and this is a topic of conversation. I think America just needs to like get it right. Um, we've been dealing with these same issues for quite some time, but where I think everyone is going wrong at um, is that ask yourself, how many times have we seen or dealt with on a regular basis the same type of Breonna
Taylor.
situation. Yeah, Breonna Taylor, uh, George Floyd. You mean we can go on and on and on.
Too many.
These are
It's too many.
far too many. So ask yourself, why isn't it that we're dealing with these same situations when you come down to other black people that doesn't originate from this country? Um, that's a question like nobody's asking. You have people from all over the world coming to this country just as black as me. Um, not only from Africa, but from India and other places. So why isn't it that these people are not experiencing the same things as the black folks that originated from America? The ones that's been here that come out of slavery here in America.
I'll tell you this, and I'm gonna keep it raw, and I'm gonna ask Cass a question because there's a hierarchy. We don't want to talk about these things, but this is the truth. We look at people with a hierarchy. I am just as guilty. We look at them. We are ingrained to look at them in a hierarchy. So you kind of bust out of that. You kind of see what's going on, and it peters away. And when it peters away, what happens is, sorry guys, and when it peters away, what happens is you have to figure out what's real and what's not real. We look at people in a certain thought process, like an officer getting shot, tantamount to we got to find him right now, or the bombing in Boston Marathon. Little known thing that you think about in your mind, they went house to house to find these people. There was no search warrant. There was no anything. They're doing what they want to do. And the pushback is, let me throw you a crumb. We're going to indict one of them, but we're still not going to indict him for killing the person that he was shooting at. We're going to indict him for pointing the gun at someone else upstairs. I'm like, come on, people. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do that. But the thing is, we have this language that we listen to all the time, whether it be on Facebook, on our cell phone, a meme, black, white, red, blue, Marxist, socialist. It's like fire. You're throwing it out there, and people are just gobbling it up because their mind, just like a damn ramen noodle, they don't care. They don't want to think any deeper than that. And then when you try to tell them something because you have some intelligence and you really have thought it through, or you've thought about it and looked it up, nobody wants to talk. They just get angry. That's it. And I don't understand why we can't just talk to each other and say, I disagree, but this is what I know to be facts. Check it out. And if you come back with a different conclusion, let's have that conversation. But nobody wants to do that. And I have a hard problem understanding that.
So I'm curious to hear some other opinions on that. I mean, have you guys given that any thought? I'm just curious to hear some feedback.
Marxism and socialism, like what D just said. Like D got on me the other day because one of the ladies, and I'm not familiar with her name, she is involved with the Black Lives Matters movement. She comes out and said, hey, we're trained Marxists, right? We want to blow this shit up, blow up America as it is. It's no good. Now, when I hear that as an American, as somebody who believes in the Republic, who believes in judging people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, who I would have loved hung out with Martin Luther King, right? I would have marched with him in Selma. Yes.
Hold on.
Okay.
I know you're saying that, but that's not what it meant when it was said.
Who?
Because
What?
remember, based on when you're saying the Republic, based on what you said earlier, said that the black people were, what were they?
Property. Okay.
So
No. Here's the deal. I totally feel that. I get you. We are a constitutional republic. At the beginning, We are a nation of laws. At the beginning of this, they did not consider black people to have the same rights as white people. That was stupid. That was wrong. It was ignorant. It was all the things the four of us on here know. We don't even have to say it. It's ridiculous, inhumane bullshit. But those same rules, those same laws applied to black people, women, the women's suffrage movement, the civil rights movement. When we pull our head out of our ass and understand that all human beings are equal, for real, not just words, for real, then you apply those same words to everyone, then it's beautiful. Now it
How
may
do we
have
get there?
started off on the wrong foot, but can we not change? Can we not change?
So we talking about.
How do we get there? How do we get
So
there?
we talking about post. So we talking about post 1865, correct? When you had the 14th, 15th, and 16th Amendment written. Because before then, black
Yes, sir.
folks was,
Yes, sir.
like you said.
Yes, sir. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
When the good shit got in there, not the original. Yeah, when we tried to get it right. Yes, sir.
This is what I was saying today, guys. We're in 2020. I know all of here know exactly where they're at when they saw Rodney King get beat down. We're in 2020 and we're still talking about this. 2020 since that time. And if, thank God for cell phones, Jesus, recorders. I hate to even go there, but you think about it in your mind, before there was any kind of recorders or something like that you had any recourse, that was a tough time for our ancestors. And I'm telling you, that was a tough time. But now you have it, you show it, and still nothing gets done.
But let me ask you this though. Let me ask you all this for real. So all three of you are obviously intelligent people. So so how do you regulate morality? Like if I saw a black person on the street and he walked up to me, I'm not scared he's going to rob me. I'm not scared he's going to shoot me. I don't think about it that way, right? My mind doesn't go that way. So, but that's me. That's my inside of my personal being, my body, my mind. So, how does the government tell me how to feel?
They
If the
can't.
government,
They can't tell you how to feel. That's not it. They're not telling you how to feel. What I'm saying to you, and nobody wants to tell you how to feel, how to do your job, because nobody can tell you how to do your job better than you can. That's not the point. The point that I'm trying
And
to
that's exactly the point that I was trying to get to. I hope I'm not cutting out.
No, that's okay. I'll let you finish that thought. Hold on. This is what I'm saying to you. It's not about regulating what you do or what you don't do. It's making you accountable if you don't do your job right. And in essence, if you cost someone their life, there's no excuse for that. You can't yourself, in whatever you do in life right now, go and accidentally cost someone their life and there's no accountability for you. What makes someone else better than you? And if there's any other answer, then, well, he works for this company, he works for that company. Okay, well, that's your thought process and we disagree. But the point is, we are outraged. We're outraged when someone gets killed that we hold in high regard. It could be an athlete. It could be a police officer. We are outraged. Why are we not outraged when the layman? Why are we not outraged when you have a worker that helps people, an EMT or a doctor, or even someone as the ambulance person that picks you up and makes sure you make it to the hospital? That's because we have a pecking order. We don't want to admit that shit, but we do. And then we hold people in like, oh, they're not worthy. We don't care about who. We'll pass that on and we'll go to the next day. But then someone else we hold in high regard. Oh no, we got to stop the presses. I will sit back and listen to what you guys got to say. Thank you for joining the corporation. What you have to say.
Yeah. I mean, I have so many thoughts about this. I mean, and we all got our own opinions. I think if we really want to get this racial issue resolved, and if we really approach it like in
I lost the thread there. Can you phrase it another way?
Oh, I'm sorry, I got something on.
Hello, Alexa.
If you really want, if you really want to get this right, I think what we have to do is find a way to right the wrongs that's been done in the past, regardless of what people say. People like to say, you can't, that was 400 years ago, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, what happens 400 years ago has an effect on what's going on now. And the biggest common denominator that I see, what I was trying to get to earlier, that is that we're looking at it as a black and white thing. This is not a black and white issue. You have people way darker than me, way blacker than me, that don't suffer the same issues that I suffer from. And a lot of that has to do, well, like you said earlier, about the pecking order. Blacks in America, the descendants of American slavery, are bottom caste. We're in a caste system where you have all these laws, you have the educational system, you have several institutions that's actually built to keep blacks that descended from slavery here in America in this caste system. And I like to refer to the data. You have black as a group, the American descendants of slavery, right now, and let's say in LA, throughout all the cities in America. But right now in the city of LA, you have blacks worth less than $1. $1. Their worth is less than $1. When in comparison, you take the Africans in LA, worth about 120,000, almost equal to whites in LA. So this is not a color issue. So when I see these atrocities taking place, and they predominantly from this caste system, what I see is a lot of poverty crimes, a lot of issues arising due to George Floyd trying to pass a fake $20 bill, allegedly. Breonna Taylor, supposed to have been associated with a drug dealer. I mean, all these crimes and all these issues and interactions and encounters I'm hearing about when it comes to the interacting with police are basically poverty crimes, allegedly poverty crimes. So when someone look at me and they hear me speak, I mean, it's obvious. Well, you would think that I'm a descendant from American slavery. I don't have a foreigner accent. And when somebody, let's say, from Nigeria speak, we're not treated the same. We're not treated the same. So to look at this issue as colorism, this is not a colorism issue. This is an issue about, in my opinion, for one, we're talking about education. Anybody that went to the public school system or got educated through the public school system, miseducated.
So let me cut you off for a second. And I want to ask the panel that I have accumulated here now, one by one, I would like for you to tell me, what do you think it means when they say defund the police? Those three words, defund the police. What does that mean to you when they say that? Whoever.
Well, I'll tell you what it's supposed to mean.
No. What it means to you.
Okay. What it means to me is what it says. Um, Supposed to be taking the funding away from the police, and attributing those funds in other areas, whether it be more community service, whether it be for like better housing, um, whether it be for more a better mental health, things like that. Now, and what it actually is, that's another story.
What do you think, Cash? Unmute your mic, brother. Unmute your mic. There you go.
Got me now? All right,
Yeah.
my bad. If I'm angry at the police, I'm like, hey, defund these bitches. They're shooting all the black people. Defund them. Defund them. Let me tell you something. I don't care who you are, or what color you are. Do police officers abuse their power? Yes. Yes, there's bad cops, man. Yes. Okay. Now, are all cops bad? No. Do all black people eat fried chicken? No. Are all white people racist? No.
Most of
You
us
can't
do.
say all. You can't say all, right? So, right, that's stupid. If I say all Korean people are thieves, I mean, you're stupid, right? Okay. So I'm getting to a point. So if the problem with the police is that a lot of times, whether the people they're dealing with are white, black, Asian, green, brown, it doesn't, we got black and white, I get it. But a police officer has to go into a high stress situation. Some dude is beating on his wife. Maybe she's Korean and he's from Iceland. Who fucking knows? He's got to go and de-escalate that situation. He needs to be trained, whether he's a black officer or not. He needs to be trained, confident. He needs to understand how to handle the situation and de-escalate, not be scared and pull his gun out, start popping everybody. Police officers need to be trained if we expect them to go over to a house and find a 3-month-old baby sticking out of a wall because the dad got mad and threw it through the wall. And now you got to deal with that. And you're not trained. So police officers need to be trained properly to deal with the madness that they see from whoever, whatever color it is. So when you just say, hey, we're going to defund them, screw them, I'm mad at them, I'm going to take their money away. I'm not sure that overall that's a great plan. I need to hear somebody's plan about it, where you can put that money. I think police officers need to be trained. I think they need to weed out the bad ones, the weak mental ones. They need to be tested. They need to be the best of us, whatever color they are. They need to be able to go in and remain true to the law in a bad situation. And that's hard. That's difficult.
Would you be against an oversight committee based on individuals that have served their life in service to be able to overview outside of the police and
No,
outside of anybody associated with them?
no, I'm not against it at all. We need to hold them accountable. We need to hold them accountable to their actions. That's what we're talking about, right? If that's what your point is, that hey, if we're all equal here, why can this Breonna get shot but nobody's held accountable? Why can't we be accountable for when we make a mistake? When we overstep and over abuse our power, why are we not held accountable? Why is it cool unless it's a famous person or a white person? I'm 100% with that.
If a doctor has surgery on you and he kills you because he's negligent, what happens to him?
He can lose his license, all kinds of stuff.
So it's got to be something.
Yep, and it gets sued.
There's got to be something in place for us to understand this is what's going on around you, and it's serious. And the truth is, a lot of people don't want to hear that. They don't want to really understand what's going on around them, but it's happening at such a consistent basis. I'll tell you something that kind of perked my ears the other day, and of course, this is raw talk, baby. I'm gonna keep it real. So I was listening to Trump. He was talking at one of his rallies, and he was saying, he pointed to some people and he said, "Hey, you got good genes. You know, they're like you. You got good genes." What would that mean to you if he said that to you? Outside of me and what I thought it meant, what did that mean to you?
I missed. I'm not sure what he said, bro. That's the first time hearing of it. I'm trying to watch, not to watch it. It's hard for me to listen.
You know you have good genes.
Who'd
You know you
he
got
say
good
to?
genes.
To who?
Well, his crowd, brother. It's a dog whistle. Dog,
My guess would be he was pointing to somebody
it's dog
white.
whistle, brother. Did you know that Trump's mother, father, um, I think grandfather and grandmother, they were not from here, including wife.
Man, his wife
None of
ain't from here.
none of them are from here.
Everybody, his other wife, Ivana, none of them are from here. Ivanka, all the
Not
bitches ain't.
one. Not one. So what is he tapping into that makes everyone say, "Hey, he's me"? He's not you. Wow, come on. I gotta understand this. I really do, and I mean, it's not funny, but it is funny to me. I want to understand.
Hey, he ain't me. He's mean. He's thin-skinned. He's rude. Uh, he was trying to pretend like he's the biggest Christian in the world. He said 2 Corinthians instead of 2 Corinthians. The dude is a used car salesman, bro. I don't know, man. So it's the biggest snake oil salesman that ever came down the pipe ever. He's
But
oh,
he is
I'm not a
working it.
politician.
He is
He's
working
good.
it. Okay,
He's good.
I,
But if
I
you if
am
you
not.
if you look at him
Hey,
as a normal human of any color and you don't see a used car salesman, you ain't trying. You're not looking. If all these people, oh, Jesus sent Trump to say, God sent Trump, man.
hey, hey. The truth.
He is.
But yeah, I mean, I thank God for Trump. Excuse me. I mean, I like the fact that without Trump, I don't think this country would have came to the reckoning that we're at right now. Um, the unfortunate part about it, I mean, if you look at if you look at the things that's been implemented by his competitor, I mean, it's pretty horrible too. You know, we talking about his competitor like has a history
Yeah,
of
Biden. Say no, don't say his name. Bi- Biden and
and
Kamala Harris too. Let's keep it real. We're talking about keeping it real.
I
Yes,
mean,
both of them. I mean, we got. I know his is egregious. I
it,
get what you're saying, and I'll let you, forgive me for interrupting you. His is egregious everyday level. He just putting in your face, and you don't like to hear what he has to say. And at least he's telling you his shit. He ain't just coming at you like, "Hey, I'm gonna cool with you or whatnot," then kill you in the back. He's telling you what he's doing. He's putting it in your face and don't give a damn what you think. Okay, and he has people backing that. Whereas these other cats, yeah, I don't want it to be cancel culture where I just point to one bad thing about this person or a few bad things about this person and then say that's what their whole book is written about. I'm not going to go that way either. So these other cats did some really good things as well, but we could always point to something bad about everybody. But if you write the whole totality of everything, the good and bad, and weigh it out, come on now. I think that's a no-brainer, and that's really what I'm getting at.
yeah, I mean, that's the fact that we even have to have this conversation about defunding the police, and then the two political candidates that's that's on the surface like supporting these measures. It's comical. I mean, it's
Why do we need
like,
more police? Why do we
huh?
need more police?
No, I'm not talking about more police. I'm talking about defunding the police. You know, we need to be talking about the issues like what you was mentioning earlier about police oversight. Yeah, we always talk about training. Yeah, training is good, but the whole system is set up. When I say system, well, I'm talking about the Internal Affairs Division investigating the police department. That needs to go. That needs to go. We're talking about the mayor's working very closely with. I understand they have to work with the police department, but not to the extent that they do. So it's like they have no oversight whatsoever. and it just doesn't make sense once you realize how the system is working.
I will create an important fact on Breonna Taylor's press conference today, where the Attorney General came out and he was under fire. I don't know some of you that joined later. He was under fire today, and look at the interview of the Attorney General for Louisville, Kentucky, when he came out and he was talking about the factual data of the um, what do they call that? A grand jury verdict. He was not comfortable. He did not like being on that stage. He knew what he was saying did not hold weight. And what I got from that is that this guy, he was somebody said something or did something to him to where he had no choice. And when you see him, just look at his body language. He's a brother by color. And so when you see him, I want you to check that out. And I want you to tell me, based on everyone here on this panel's skills, because you've lived long enough to kind of read people a little bit, I would assume, and you don't have to live long enough to tell what's going on behind the scenes. This is crazy when your governor in the same press conference says we need more transparency from the AG. Now, the AG says this is what we did. The governor in the same press conference says we need more transparency from them.
Hey, all I can say is thank God the FBI is involved, because that is a shit show. It's taken them 6 months to get to a beating by a baton. It's thank God the FBI is involved, and let's just hope that they dig further, they come up with something that's not just bullshit. And I can't even imagine. I can imagine, but I can't imagine for the family.
The truth is, I'll say it to you like this for people in Texas, then they will understand this analogy. When you say that, when you say they hope to come to something that's reputable and conscientious that should be fits the crime, it's like saying Tony Romo with 1 minute left and he's not going to throw an interception or fumble. We know what's going to happen. We just have to figure out how to deal with it. And that is the truth. They'll never say it out loud, but the truth is they're bracing themselves for these people, whomever that these people may be, to sweep it under the rug, get all their ducks in a row, and nobody will say a word, because in a month or two with social media, they'll be forgotten because of, of course, about the vote.
Louisville is going to become the next Ferguson.
They're not only doing it in Louisville, they're doing it all around the country. Now, why would people all around the country disrupt their daily lives? All of them hoodlums, all of them don't have jobs, all of them don't care, to go out and protest peacefully, people.
And to what you said earlier, and I have a T-shirt that says this. How do we change? The 4 or 5 of us, we all have a vote. We can change, but protest plus vote equals change. And the systematic problems that we have, they're not going to change overnight, and they're not going to change like we want them to, but we have to vote. That is the first thing we can do, is to get out there and vote. And while people may not think it means shit, it does. And the more people that are pissed off, and we politely protest and we vote, that we live in a democracy, and getting pissed off about it and having a podcast and bitching and moaning and getting on Facebook and this, that, and the other, it doesn't do us any good. We've got to vote. What's your name? Pawn maneuver? Pawn man over? What do you think?
Pawn maneuver. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sounds cliche, because from my perspective, it's like, what am I voting for? I mean, what am I voting for? And
yeah, but what if you don't vote?
Yeah, but what if you don't vote?
Well, I mean, to me, I don't want to be hit on this video and say something that Some people know me. But anyway, I understand. I mean, the gist of
You hold on.
what
Your
you're
palm
saying.
Yeah, hold
maneuver.
on. Your palm maneuver.
Your palm maneuver. Nobody know you, man.
So, yeah, it's. I mean, you have to have something that you're voting for, and what I mean by that is there's nothing being presented for me or my group that's a good reason for me to give them my vote. I will. When I say give them my vote, I'm talking about voting straight Democratic Party from the top to the bottom of the ticket. I believe in. I believe in. I'm sorry. I believe that my vote is a business exchange. It's not given for free. You have to give me something, and giving me knowing my wealth position as a group. Now I do pretty well, like individually, but knowing my wealth position as a group, knowing that my group is predicted to have zero wealth here in America, zero wealth here in America within the next few years. And there's nothing other than class-based policies. Class-based policies has been offered. You cannot solve a problem such as the one that we have with the racial wealth gap with class-based policies. So I am a big, strong advocate of HR 40. Reparations need to be given because it's owed. It's owed. It is a debt that America owes, and it's a debt that America needs to pay. And if America doesn't pay, we're going to keep having the same issues over and over and over again. This is not a colorism issue.
Corporation. You got something to say about that? As you sipping on your whiskey over there with your cat. It's a lot. I know it's a lot to unpack, but I'm gonna sit back and sit here and listen to your perspective because you're super sharp and intelligent, and I want to hear what you have to say, brother.
Man, I'm just intrigued by the conversation, man. So I agree with a lot of things that are being said. Besides the voting from Democrat all the way down portion of that, but because I feel like there's good and bad on both sides, and if you look up different videos or different, I guess they're just videos, right? Just videos of these individuals who have been in politics for 50, 60 years, right? And we're going up to 40, 50, 60 years. They are contradicting on multiple different levels, and majority of those contradicts come from the Democrat Party. So I really feel like the Democrat Party plays the Black community like puppets. You look up some of your main democratical people that you follow, that you like what vision they have today. Look at what they were saying in the 90s. Look what they were saying 10 years ago. It was not what they were speaking a different tone because they were speaking the tone of the ears that they were appeasing at the time. And it goes the same with Republicans too. I think everybody in politics is trash, but people are very good at singling out certain people, saying, "Okay, well, he's hateful, he's mean, whatever." But if you just Google search any of these politicians that you maybe idolize today, everything that they do or that they are doing now is contradicting, to what they believed in or what policies they were pushing back in the day. So I think that's terrible, But as far as reparations, since I was asked to comment on that, I definitely think that is owed in some sense. I think the Black community as a whole, as far as like Black-owned banks and Black-owned businesses, things like that, I think that's in as far as reparations, I think that's owed. I think it helps the black community as a whole get where they need to be. Where a lot of people think, okay, well, reparations, you need to send me a check personally. So I guess it just really depends on someone's belief on that. But I definitely think that if America was to pay this paycheck that is owed, right? Because you guys didn't have the same start as white people. Straight up, you guys didn't. And a lot of white people don't think about that because they look at it and say, well, no, you got LeBron James, you got Morgan Freeman, you got Dwayne Hatchett. Dwayne Hatchett drives a brand new Mercedes. You know what I mean? They're like, there's people out here who have success in life, and they're like, what are you talking about? There is, yeah,
I am
okay.
not.
And so,
You said I don't know
so
that person.
there's a lot of black people out there with success, and so the white people look at it and say, okay, well, no, you have success, you have money, right? But they don't look at the bigger picture where you guys essentially just started what in the 60s, 50s, maybe 60s, I guess 60s. It's 2020, so it's not that long ago, right? So really, you guys, I mean, as a culture, did not have the same upbringing and the same start, right,
So how do
as
we reach
white
someone that
Americans.
looks like you
Well, that's what I was saying. Reparations,
that
in
puts me in
fact,
your
were the means of helping the black community, helping the black-owned banks and schools, and distributing money, like real money. All right, so real money towards the schooling and the education systems and stuff like that. There was I don't know if you guys know. I've been watching since the beginning, but there was a comment made earlier about how slavery has just evolved, right? Evolved to something different. So it's not necessarily that black people are actually owned property, right? That's not correct anymore. But it's just evolved to a different form of slavery. And I believe that as well. So black communities are held down on education levels. Black people or black communities are held down financially, and multiple different levels. So not only did you get a late start to the game, but now you have a thumb over your head, saying, okay, well, if you can get past the thumb, LeBron James, if you can get past the thumb, Morgan Freeman, some of these
I hear
very
what you're saying.
successful
The
black people.
anomalies.
Yeah, you get past the thumb, you made it. You made it. Good job.
There you
Set an
go.
example for the black community because
The
you
black
are one
community,
of the
because
few
Make a
that can
million.
help. But you gotta bypass the thumb.
But
So
you
Yeah,
did
I
say
mean,
something.
absolutely, Cash.
No, that's not cash. That's corporation.
Cash,
But I will say this. That's corporation. But I will say this. This is true. What I'm about to say to you, though, you and I'm glad you said that a lot because the truth is, a lot of people that look like you really think that, and I appreciate the honesty. But we still feel like property, brother. 13th Amendment makes you still feel like property. When Kaepernick and people kneel on that when they sing, people never ever take the time. This is like almost in my mind like life changing, but people just never take the time to find out what are you singing, what are you
hold on, hold on,
singing.
hold on. Kaepernick is an employee of an organization, right? So let's just go. Let's just get to the bottom level of just human beings, right? If you worked at McDonald's, right, and you protested that you aren't going to do nothing but wash dishes, I'm not cooking nothing today. You're going to get fired, right? Or you can get reprimanded, or whatever happens with your boss scaling all the way up to the McDonald's corporation. It's going to come down. Hey, that's not what you were hired for. You were hired to do X, Y, and Z,
But
and we don't
what if you
like
don't break
what you're
rules?
bringing to the table. But
What if you don't break the
I'm not
rules?
saying what Kaepernick was doing is wrong, but you got to understand he was paid by the owner of an organization, and he worked under the umbrella of a major organization that had different views, right? And so you can't sit here and say, oh, no, he's technically still a slave. No, if you work at McDonald's, you're
No,
still
no, no,
fucking a
no,
slave
no,
as
no,
well.
no.
If
Let's
you
be
don't if
clear.
you don't operate under their guidelines and their
Fair,
regulations, you're canned.
fair,
You're done,
fair,
right? So it's
fair,
the same thing.
fair.
So
But I'm
I
not.
don't
But
look
I'm
at
hold on. I'm not saying he was a slave. Let's be clear. I'm not saying he was a slave. I'm just simply saying to you and anybody that disagrees with what I'm about to say, and that's okay. I'm simply saying to you that he broke no rules. He broke no code of ethics. What he signed contractually with the team that he was with, there was no code and ethics violated. He just wasn't. That didn't happen. They just didn't like what he did, And then it was assumed that he did it because he didn't like law enforcement, and that was a narrative. But now you see that that was just maybe ahead of his time.
He didn't
Muhammad
like
Ali,
he didn't like law enforcement.
Muhammad, he does. Muhammad
No, he
Ali.
didn't. No, he didn't. He came out to practice with pigs on his socks. He didn't like.
No,
He made it very. He made it. He made it very obvious that he
I'm
was.
gonna have to get my
He
other
was not
camera of
against.
my shooting, but I just want you to know, and I'm gonna go in just in deep mode just a second, but I want you to hear this before I go out and change. The truth is this: they're now saying that he was right. So obviously he did it right then. It's just now that it comes to fruition that he did it right. My point to you on simply of Kaepernick, what he did was look at the entirety of the song. No hireling or slave shall have refuge. Why would black people sing that? When it was made, no hireling or slave will find refuge. Why you as a black person would you stand up and salute to that? That's what people don't understand. That's the history of what we're singing. And people just want to discount that like it's a misnomer. But man, know what's going on. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the people that don't know and that just want to talk about it. So he's just disrespecting. His family's from Shores.
But we got a new black national anthem that I never heard of until now, within the last month.
Really?
What is it?
I'm changing camera,
So you guys haven't heard of it?
No.
I've heard of it, but I didn't know there were. I didn't know there were one that existed. To be honest with you, until a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and I mean, if it wasn't so serious, I would laugh because I'm looking at so many symbolism. All these things that we've been seeing within the last 6 months, tearing down statues. I mean, you name it. We don't see any policy. And going back to what you were saying earlier about, the typical person would think, well, blacks are doing so great because of, celebrities. I mean, just pick one, Michael Jordan. You name it. I do believe that they play a vital role with the way people think in America for a reason, for that purpose, to serve at what we call the decadent veil. To give people the illusion that this group is doing so great. And this is why
Did you say decadent veil?
Decadent veil.
Decadent. Okay.
And every time every time I open up my phone, computers, and I'm always getting bumped and just bombarded about celebrities. And I think that one of the reasons why we're in this predicament because of people giving so much of their time and efforts and mind and to this, what the celebrities are doing, what Kanye West is doing, and not just looking at, not paying attention to politics and not looking at the data. I mean, a lot of this data haven't been put out or wasn't available just 10 years ago, but now it's available. And you look at the data, it's scary. I mean, it really is. It's scary. And with that, I just would like to say, I mean, celebrities can't speak for me. But the Democratic Party is always running when it comes to black issues. They always having celebrities to speak as though they're like professionals, they're economists, they are historians. I mean, just overnight, a lot of these black celebrities are like these professional people and know the issues and speaking for me. And I think that's insulting.
Mm-hmm.
And on many levels. So That's
Well,
my
and
take on that.
going to that, the current Democratic nominee who's running for president now, he's been on Charlemagne show. He did a podcast with Cardi B, right? So I think they really dive into the Black community, but I feel that they feel, just like as you're saying, the only representation that the Black community has is the successful Black people. So they go after them, and just like when Hillary Clinton was running against President Bush, she had who performed for her, Jay-Z or something like that. She had a concert, Jay-Z concert, for crying out loud. It's like, and it's funny because when it's all over, guess who's calling the shots? The old white men, the old white ladies who have been doing it for 40, 50 years, 60 years, and it's been passed down from generation to generation from that point too, right? So who knows how long that particular family has been calling the shots in politics or at Capitol Hill, right? So it's to me, and I'm not even Black, and I felt even when it was going down with Hillary and she was having a Jay-Z concert, and then you have Biden on podcast with Cardi B talking about hot sauce. I was like, man, I would feel disrespected. It's like, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear change. I want to hear policy. I want to hear the issues that we're having here in America. What are we making? What reform do we have set in place? Or what crazy idea do you have in your head? Although it may be stupid, what crazy idea do you have to reform the major issues that we're dealing with right now? Not no concert, not, appearing with Cardi B talking about hot sauce. It's just, I don't know, but going along the same lines you're saying, it's just, but it's just, it's disrespectful. I actually felt disrespected, and I'm not even Black, and I'm not a Democrat. But I think they just play those lines. They've been doing it for years, and it's just going to take a different breed of a Democrat to come through and breathe some fresh air into that party, in my opinion. But
Well, and when I said that we need to vote, I'm not saying that Biden's going to fix everything, but I think you need to vote for the lesser of two evils. And Biden would never have been my first choice. But if I want to vote against Trump. So that's, I'm not saying that our candidate's going to fix everything, but I think it is important that, as I said, you pick the lesser of two evils, and the one that at least is going to start to move us in a better direction, and not as our current president's doing.
Why did he do that when he was with Obama?
It wasn't his show to run.
He was in the White House. He was in the White House for 8 years, 2 terms, 8 years, and the Black community fell on the ground. The Black community fell on their asses actually during those 8 years. So
wiped us out. Absolutely wiped us out. I mean, the little wealth that we had, we lost it all. Because our primary source of wealth was within our homes.
Right.
So that's how the Obama administration wiped us out, because with all that underhandedness that was going on with these,
the subprime mortgages.
Yeah, and he just never fixed that, and he bailed out the people that was responsible for it, but didn't bail out the people that suffered from it.
He had
but right now, we can't hold him to that, because
he
I got muted.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, we're in a totally different time and place right now, and we can't hold Biden accountable for every single thing that happened under the Obama-Biden administration.
You can't hold Trump responsible for everything that's happening right now either, because he's not. He's not everybody like that.
I know, but I hold him he's culpable at a different level, because he's dividing this country. He is every day running his fucking mouth, dividing this country, in my opinion. Sorry, corporation. But I think that is a huge issue. And we have to, I'm not saying that anybody on the ticket can fix, but start to bring us back together, and stop siloing us, and putting a focus on the Black, the white, the underprivileged, these people, that people. You've got good genes, you don't. It's just, if he if we had someone that they may not be the best politician, they may not be the best lawyer, they may not be really good at anything, but if they at least act like they give a shit about all of us as a whole, I think this country would be in a very different place. And I agree to what you said earlier, Pawn Maneuver, that shit, I just lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought, but it infuriates me that we do not have a leader right now that actively wants the country to become one.
Well, I don't think that will benefit him if he does. Divisiveness right now is a go-to right now. It works. It works. He knows it works, and he usually goes with what works at the time. And I think about it this way: as a businessman, I think how many times this man has been in business. How many of those businesses have been successful? And you expect a different outcome from someone that makes it to the highest pinnacle of American statesdom, and you expect him to somehow figure out how to run a country when not one of the corporations that he's ever opened, ran, name attached to has been profitable. Think about that. And all of y'all are business people. You're hiring a CEO right now that has never ran a profitable business, that has made every one of your competitors and everyone that you did business with run off and don't like you anymore. And yet you're telling me he's still the CEO? Stop. Because you can't tell me that. But somehow you're going to find a way to say, no, it's okay. Well, he believes in what I believe. What does he believe in? I want you to tell me this. And this is everybody on my panel. And I'm going to cut it off after this last words. But this is what I want to ask you. What does the president of this world right now, United States of America, what does he believe in that you believe in specifically? What does he believe in that he actually exercises on a daily basis, or not daily basis, but that's who he is, that you encompass in your everyday life that facilitates you being success? What does he do that you can recognize? Two sayings. Help me understand that.
For me, the answer is nothing.
Pawn?
I can't think of anything.
Corporation?
I didn't follow.
I'll go the easy way out with everybody else. I can't think of anything either.
He hasn't been on Raw Talk with respect too much because he don't want to give that raw talk, but that's okay. I would say this, man. I'm sure you can always find something good in everybody, and that's even Donald Trump. He just works hard for you to find it. He doesn't really care if you do or not. You know, to be honest with you, if I was 76 years old, white and a billionaire, and I was a president, I could give a shit what you thought, because you ain't gonna do nothing. But if I'm the president, I'm assuming the responsibility of a lot of other people other than me, or I'm just not going to be in that role. And that's the difference. You assume the role, you assume the identity, you got to do differently what you would do. And that encompasses everyone else. And if you don't want to learn about them, then what the hell are you doing? So I appreciate everyone joining me tonight. We've been a long time on, but we had a lot to talk about. And I promise it won't be a week before now. We'll do it this weekend sometime, because I'm going to tell you this. It's the 23rd of September. Within 14 days, something will happen in America that's so egregious that we'll talk about it and say, why? And that's all the time. Like the coronavirus. First, it was 250,000 would be most we're going to get. Most we're going to be in, and that's a big deal. Now it's 2.5. So I would just hope during conversations that we have amongst intelligent people that do care about people, that we can come to some kind of amicable means and communicate with each other and at least hear what we have to say. I'll give everybody their last word, and then we're going to cut it off. Go ahead, Diane.
Last word is thanks for having me. The corporation would love to see more of the cat. Pawn Maneuver, it's great to see you. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week.
Hey, the same here, Diane. It's great being on the show today. I think it's the first time I've ever been on a live broadcast before. But it's been good. It's been good. We definitely have to do this again.
Thank you for the invite. It was fun. It was actually more entertaining than fun, actually. So yeah, how about next time you have a podcast? Let's talk about some good things in addition to the bad things. Kind of like a song. Kind of like if we put a CD in, right? You start with some crazy music, and then you have some love songs, and then you play some crazy music again. That's the kind of stuff I like. Let's mix things up, man. Let's talk about everything that's going on, not just one particular thing. And I know today was a big day, right? Because something major happened today. But next podcast, let's have like 2 or 3 topics and let's go through them. Let's have some fun. Let's have some serious talks. In addition to that, let's have some drinks and get to know one another on a different level rather than straight up level like what was tonight. But thank you. Appreciate it.
Point taken. We will definitely influx a lot of comedic and fun things to laugh about, and take a different perspective on life instead of all the seriousness. Because the truth is, we are inundated with it on everyday basis, whether it be our cell phones or CNN or Fox or you fill in the blank. So yeah, it's cool to kind of get that release and have some fun with some people that are still, they understand what's going on with you, but we'll do that at a different date. Fair enough. So I hear my audience. Again, I thank you all. I love you all. To those who are my audience and to those who will be, till next time, Raw Talk with Respect. See you soon. Be there all the time. Bye.